Hello! We are happy to see that you are using a new Burda style video. Today we will explain Model 5 from Burda Easy number 4, July to August 2020. The piece is a wrap blouse with emphasis on the cleavage. Simply tie it at the side at your waistline. The cap sleeves are wide and airy, perfect for the summer. The pattern pieces of Model 5B are in white on the pattern sheet. I cut out pattern pieces 1 to 3 and pieces A, B, and C as well, following the piece overview on the pattern sheet. I also added seam allowances as explained in the model. To learn more about adjustments, watch the video description. You will also need bias binding, thread that matches the fabric, a needle for your sewing machine, straight pins, fabric scissors, a tape measure, tailor's chalk, a pencil, and a ruler. The bias binding is for finishing the neckline. You can find it in a fabric shop or make it yourself if you have enough leftover fabric. Draw a 30 by 30 centimeter on the fabric along the straight grain and fold diagonally from one corner to the one opposite. Next, press the fold flat and draw a line 2 centimeters from the fold. Cut along the line. The bias binding has a total width of 4 centimeters. To sew the seams and the knitted edge, I am using the Experience 560 sewing machine from Elna. I recommend using an overlock stitch for the neatened edges if your machine has one, and if not, a simple zigzag stitch will be fine. If you have an overlock machine, this is the best solution for achieving really nice results. First, I put the bias binding on the back neckline edge. To do so, I place the open edge of the bias binding along the neckline edge right sides together and pin them together. I stitch them together without stretching the different layers of fabric and trim the allowances 5 millimeters from the seam before I clip the curves. I press the bias binding that is now on the wrong side of the neckline and top stitch it 5 millimeters from the edge. For the front neckline, I fold the edges 7 millimeters or 1/4 of an inch to the inside and press them. Then I fold them 7 millimeters or 1/4 of an inch inward once again and press. I stitch the allowance close to the edge. Please note, you are stitching it in the bias direction of the fabric, so try not to stretch it at all when you are pressing or stitching. To be on the safe side, you can also pin or baste the seams in place. And now onto the shoulders. To ease the shoulders, first stitch 2 rows of long stitches next to each other at the shoulders. I use a stitch length of 4 millimeters. The first row of easy stitches is 1 centimeter from the edge, and the second row is 7 millimeters from the first row. I leave enough of the thread ends hanging to make it easy to pull on the lower threads to ease the shoulders until they have their length listed in your magazine. Add a 5.5 centimeter allowance to the armhole. As soon as I have the required width, I tie the thread ends in a knot. I place the front piece on the back piece, right sides together, and stitch the shoulder seams from seam 1 between the rows of easing stitches. I neaten the seam allowances, removing the easing thread, and press the seams apart. If you want to sew Model 5A, complete the armholes before this step. For Model 5B, however, I continue with the side seams at this point. I place the front pieces on the back, right sides together, and from seam 2, place the side pieces together. Please note, first draw the opening in the right side seam with tailor's chalk. The slit must be secured at both seam ends by backstitching. I neaten the allowances separately and now press them apart to be able to top stitch the edges of the slit in the right side seam. Now I can work on the sleeves, which I fold at the center, right sides together, and sew together from seam 3. I neatened the seam edges separately so I can press them apart. I neatened the allowances on the lower sleeve edge, press them toward the inside, and top stitch the edge to a width of 1 centimeter. To set in the sleeves, I pin the sleeve in the armhole right sides together, observing 3 points. The notch on both the sleeve and the front piece must match. The sleeve and side seams must match, and the notch for the sleeve head must meet the shoulder seam. Pin the sleeves on and stitch them. Before stitching, you can baste the allowances. As soon as you have set in the sleeves, neaten the allowances together and press them into the sleeve. Now I fold pieces C, which will be tied together later, in half lengthwise, right sides together, and stitch the edges together, leaving one narrow side open on each tie. I trim the allowances and cut the corners on a diagonal. I turn the ties right side out using a pencil and press them. Now let's move on to the waistband for pieces A and B. I place the front, right, and left waistband pieces on the back waistband piece, right sides together, in order to stitch the side seams. I press the allowances apart. I fold the waistband in half lengthwise and press along the fold. The right side of the fabric is visible. The side seams meet and the seam allowances of the narrow edges jut past the waistband. I stitch the waistband together. Now I trim the allowances that I just sewed and press them into the waistband. I press the allowances of the other waistband edge to the inside. Now I place the front edges of the waistband together so the wrong side is visible and insert ties C. I place the open edges of ties C on the front edges of the waistband and fold them together. I stitch the edges together. The ties are secured by the seam. After trimming the allowances, I turn the whole piece inside out. I place the folded, still open edge of the waistband on the waistband seam. Before starting to stitch, I recommend that you baste or pin the edges. Next, I stitch close to the waistband seam. If you want to sew blouse 5C, refer to Easy Tutorial number 3, where we give you detailed information on easing the skirt and sewing it on. The blouse is now finished and ready to wear. After you have sewn this model, show the community by posting the model in our Facebook group or by tagging us on Instagram. To make sure you don't miss the next tutorials, remember to subscribe to this channel. Burda Style thanks and recommends Elna, our sewing machine partner. We hope you all have a wonderful summer and see you again soon with Burda Style.